All right. Welcome back, my regular viewers, listeners, and watchers. And of course, if you happen to be here for the very first time, welcome. Before I go any further, my name is Rahul George, India's premier iHypnosis coach and your personal guide. And I must say, a very warm welcome to the iHypnosis coaching journeys. This is a podcast that has been literally drawn from inspiration for you, especially you as a digital coach and healer on your journey. I know I've been on this journey now for literally close to 2 decades, and I make it a point to bring some of the most amazing guests, people who are out there doing absolutely fantastic work. And um, today really kind of sets that bar extremely high, and I'm literally getting chills as I'm sharing this with you. I met this truly amazing human. Literally, was it 2019? So it's about 5 years now, 5 years give or take. And so before I formally, invite Niyati to come in, to step in, and to tell you a little bit about her story and her journey, I will share this with you. Um, I don't know if you have ever, felt or ever sat with somebody who is a winner, right? That was my introduction to Niyati way back in 2019. So I was attending this program, especially if you're a digital coach, you probably would have heard of the Millionaire Mind Intensive, the MMI, and this was like 2019. So pre-COVID, MMI used to run a certain way. And of course, I stepped back after lunch. I chose to sit in a different place. This is, by the way, a quick little tip. If you're attending these kind of seminars, make sure you sit in different places because you never know who you're going to meet. And so I sit in my chair, and there were two empty seats next to me. Two people came and sat down. I looked at the person looked at me, I smiled as I usually do, and the person smiled back. And the next thing I know, they were announcing, winners to the Tony Robbins Unleash the Power Within, right? The UPW um, seminar, which was, I think, happening in Singapore, if memory serves me right. And as they're going down the list, they get to, okay, now we're going to announce, guess who has won the ticket, right? All expenses paid, if I remember correctly, or it was like a bonus, like a bumper bonus ticket. And there's this, from what I remember, there's this me. There's this person who's right next to me, who is who is literally the person who is sharing the screen with me today. So with that, and of course, I will close that loop as we go deeper into today's podcast. This is incidentally, this is the sixth podcast. So if you haven't already caught some of the other episodes, please do. Without further ado, Niyati, welcome, and I will leave it to you to share a little bit about your story and who you are and how you got to be here. This is like the short version, then of course we'll go deeper into it. So welcome.
Thank you so much, Rahul. This is one of the most personal introduction that I've had. I cannot forget that day. I think it is the way we met and the environment we were in. It
Yeah,
was only meant to be skyrocketing from there.
yeah,
Looking
yeah,
forward, meeting the right kind of people, and I think both of us are such kind of people where we manifest and our manifestation comes true.
yeah.
We attract very like-minded people, and I remember that exact moment. And I also remember the laugh, like when Rahul, yes,
Yes.
that one, when Rahul talks and he laughs from his heart. And I can never forget that laugh. And I had such a fantastic discussion with you. Should we do the further course ahead or no? And those long list of pros and cons. And finally, we both
Yeah,
did it.
yeah,
So, and the journey continues,
yeah.
exploring, diving, and all those long conversations we've had. We call it the coffee shots, even though the
Yes.
shots are very quick, but we've had the longest talks ever and helped each other big time into
True.
diving, understanding, exploring. And I cannot be any more grateful to the universe that you came into my life at a time when I needed the most. So thank you so much for always being there. It's truly
It's
meant a lot.
yeah. I like I've been watching podcasts now for several years, and I didn't know what my podcast was going to be, but
Oh, loads and loads of hugs to you.
yeah, this is why these podcasts happen. Um,
Yes.
it's like some of the most amazing people that I've met, and I'm really going to take my time with this one today.
It deserves it, right?
Yeah. So what I'm reminded of is the intention that we set before we went on today, right? To make it for other people, especially for digital coaches and healers who are out there who are they really they really put their heart on the line. They really live this that we get to live every single day. And I know in many, many ways, we've been extremely blessed to have seen the wave and hopped onto the wave before it's become what it is today, right? Like you talked about,
Absolutely.
being in programs, being like so deep in programs that it's like you're literally, one way is, let's say you decide to do an expedition and you walk and you trek and then you climb mountains and you change as a person. The other way is when you attend these really, really intensive workshops where you put yourself on the line, you allow yourself to be vulnerable and you grow. So, you know, and I know you know this, I'm sure you come across people like this pretty much every day who are in that early phase of, realizing that today, if you really want to make a difference, if you want to create a personal brand, if you want to be of value to other people, you got to put yourself first, and not in a selfish way. You got to recognize who you are and who you are changing into, because, and in a moment I'm going to ask you this question, but it's like who we are today and the people that we are, that we are speaking from, which is our own selves, compared to 2 years ago, 4 years ago, or even 5 years ago. It's like, not even, I won't even say chalk and cheese. It's like there are four people in the room, right? There were two of us who were then, and there are two of us who are here today, right? And I know, like, just looking at your expressions, I know you know exactly what I'm talking about. And my intention um, is to help people, especially digital coaches and healers who are on this journey, to see this, to listen to your story, to be moved by your story, because I know you're one of those, when you say pioneers, you truly are, right? And so let me start there, right? um, when we talk about, you know uh, I mean, in the US they call it sex ed, but when we talk about, you know um, sex education in India today versus 5 years ago versus 15 years ago versus 20 years ago, it's like, different worlds altogether, right? So um, I'd love for you to just share your journey, you know, who you are and what you're doing today, but more importantly, what were those, milestones, or what were those paths that you walked on to get
Wow. So literally going
here.
14 years back and 15 years back
Yeah.
when I began exploring, it just came to me,
Mm,
Sometimes you wait all your life wondering, what am I here for?
mm,
You do a lot of things. It's not like you're sitting idle.
mm.
You're earning your money, you're doing your stuff, you're
Yeah.
putting your heart into
Yeah.
the job that you're doing. But there is always this one reason that you're here for.
Mm.
And this is something that you're very good at.
Yeah.
And sex ed was not something that I was exposed to
Mm.
where I would find out that, oh, I'm good at this. It's not a field my parents would ask me to go and figure it out or give it a shot, And it all began because of the beautiful children I have.
Mm.
And they brought this in me like, okay, I always wanted to be that mother who wanted to be available for their children, for her children, and to say that whatever you need to ask, I'm right here. Even if I don't know something, I'll go figure, but I am here. I want to be available to you. And that is where I think somewhere the universe brought me a mentor who said, who came into the school for a lecture and said,
Wow.
there is something called child sexual abuse. Do you know about it? Have you prepared your children for it?
Mm.
And I go like, oh my God, I will prepare my children, but
Mm.
let me understand this because this is what happened to me.
Right.
So, how could I, as a parent, not know that this
Mm.
is something I should have spoken to my child? My first child was already 6 years by then,
Mm.
and I had attended all parenting workshops. I was reading books. I was
Mm.
implementing all those tips and everything. I was
Right.
a hands-on parent,
Mm.
and then when I realized that this is something I need to understand before I start speaking to my
Mm.
child, that's where my journey began as a parent, as a mom, where I wanted to tell my child that, you know
Mm.
what, this is something you need to be aware about.
Right.
Don't stop yourself from doing things and going places, but be aware and be ready for it.
Mm.
If something like this happens to you, what will you do?
Right.
Because when it happened to me, I was not out in the world. I was
Mm.
in my safe space at my home.
Mm.
So when it can happen to me in the safest space on this
Mm.
universe, what can I tell anybody? Like where
Mm.
should you be careful? So that is where it all began, and I fortunately I was given this certificate to say that you can call yourself a trained sex educator, and I was like,
Wow.
what? 1 second, I can talk about this to other people.
Wow.
And I'd already started sharing my learning
Mm.
journey with my
Mm.
friends who were parents, and talking to my child's class
Mm.
parents and my friends and Nilesh's
Right.
friends and Nilesh, my husband.
Mm.
And we're talking, and I'm talking, and I'm talking. And that's where I realized people are even hesitant to listen to it.
Right.
And here I go like a bullet train talking about it, not even wondering or thinking, are they ready
Right.
to take it? I
Right.
was just talking. That's where a lot of people told me that you speak so effortlessly.
Mm.
Why don't you talk more? I was
Right.
like, more kya hota hai?
Mm.
Then I went back into the topics and I'm learning, and I was like,
Right.
what would you like to know? What would you like to know? What would you like to know?
Wow.
And my journey began as, I won't call myself a trainer yet, but my
Mm.
journey began as somebody who started speaking on this topic and realized that whatever I learned, I would just take it in. It was natural
Mm.
to me.
Mm.
And I could naturally simplify it and bring it out back.
Right.
So when you're reading books, when you're listening to people who are teaching you, they have a
Mm.
certain language, they have a certain way of speaking to you and teaching you. But I
Right.
could simplify it and put it out to my friends and their children.
Mm.
So that was my second revelation, that not only I won't even call it fearless, I'm just
Mm.
comfortable with the topic.
Right.
I'm a natural with the topic,
Mm.
and I can also simplify it. So people were not feeling awkward when they were talking to me. And
Mm.
then friends, they said, okay, we want you to come and talk to my family. So
Mm.
all the cousins and their parents would come together. Oh, I have a older sibling who's in a different school. Talk to those
Right.
parents.
Okay.
And that's how smaller groups
Wow.
started happening. And
Wow.
I said, okay, I'll have to formulate this. I can't just go and give a satsang about this. So
Mm.
started bringing the points down.
Wow.
What is the flow I want to talk about? And if I want
Mm.
to say this, can I begin like this? How do
Mm.
I begin? Then
Wow.
how do I make it fun? Because I was a boring teacher. Then how do I make it fun? How do I present it visually? I don't only want to talk. How can I make it fun with the
Mm.
games? How do
Mm.
I involve parents where so
Right.
all the observations started coming in.
Mm.
How can children still feel open to talk to me and not
Mm.
fearing that my parents will
Right.
judge me if I say
Right.
something. So slowly, I started observing.
Mm.
I started incorporating,
Mm.
and that's how the journey began.
Wow.
So while I was doing this, a lot
Mm.
of things I realized about myself,
Mm.
how I was observing, how I was taking it in, how I was implementing into my
Mm.
next session. So not only I was discovering the topic, I was
Mm.
discovering me.
Wow.
I was discovering what I am capable of, what my
Mm.
abilities are, what comes to me
Mm.
naturally, what I have
Mm.
to learn. As a earlier, I used to call myself a teacher.
Right.
Then a whole fraternity, a whole community of trainers was that door opened up to me. There is something called being a trainer. Okay,
Right.
let's learn, let's learn, let's
Right.
learn. So sex ed was not the only topic I was learning.
Okay.
I was learning psychology, I was
Mm.
learning gamifying, I was learning
Right.
English,
Mm.
I was learning so many different things so that I can be a
Mm.
powerful person who can
Wow.
take this message
Beautiful.
that be
Beautiful.
educated,
Mm.
stay empowered, and live a very healthy sexual life.
Mm.
So that was a long journey of 15 years.
Mm.
And that time it was very luckily I had people who were ready to listen to me.
Mm.
And I've never faced the challenge where it was a big chunk who said that we don't want to. I did have
Right.
some, no doubt about
Mm.
it, but it was never that big chunk where I'll say, oh, I had so many challenges. I didn't.
Right.
I didn't. I've
Right.
always had people who want to listen.
Mm.
I've always had people who's like, अरे क्या बात करती है यार अच्छा है like like you are talking. Yeah, there were surprises who would say, being a woman in India, how do you talk about it?
Right.
And I'm like, just like the woman in India who speaks about jewelry, who speaks about clothes,
Nice.
who speaks about parenting.
Nice.
So why not? And I
Mm.
know that children need it.
Mm.
I know parents want to talk to their children about
Mm.
it. There is a fear in every parent's heart when the child says, I want to travel alone, when the child says, I want to go to that party, when the
Right.
child says, I want to wear short skirts.
Mm.
And that fear when you recognize.
Mm.
So you can't hold the children at home and say, don't do it.
Right.
So then what?
Mm.
That is that a lot of things came in this journey, and
Mm.
the courses like MMI and Quantum
Mm.
Leap by Success Gyan and
Mm.
amazing people that I've met in this
Mm.
journey, they've all helped me.
Mm.
I remember our conversations about the what and the hows. Take it forward. I'm just putting some seeds, and how after our calls there would be that whole day where it's just running
Right.
in my head.
Right.
Oh, he said this can turn out. Oh, he had said this can happen. And everything fell into place when
Beautiful.
it was the right time.
Wow.
So
Amazing.
beautiful journey,
Amazing.
beautiful journey.
Amazing. So, two things that are popping up right now as I'm, kind of like I've I've had now uh, the added it's definitely a gift, right? To be able to hear your journey and like literally travel along with you over what has it been like. What you just shared has been
14.
give or take about like 14 or 15
Yeah.
years, right? And I know you've personally achieved several milestones along the way, especially in this area where even though we are literally what is it over a billion plus, but when it comes to something as basic as sex education, awareness, and then of course the flip side of it, which is the taboo, that's something that it's still in the process of opening up, and I'm sure with time it will get better. I mean, basically, it's like once education becomes more and more freely accessible,
Yes.
eventually things will kind of change. Having said that, of course, I've also seen there have been these two very interesting and distinct phases of your life where I remember we started. I remember some of the conversations around 2022, where you started to also shift in your focus, uh, starting to like earlier your focus was on the children. Now you're looking at an even more integral part, which is the parents at one level, and people as in human beings, where intimacy is something which is, and more now, whether you talk about AI, whether you talk about, Vision Pro is now a reality, right? So it's like pretty soon people are going to be even more immersed in their individual quests, if you want to, frame it that way, right? So having said all of that, like I'd love to, get your take on this. Not just, from a human to human perspective, but literally people who are our listeners. Like these are people who are going to be dealing with the the after effects of the isolation or the overstimulation, and it's like each of those are like their own oceans of, their topics within them. But broadly, if you zoom out and say, okay, yeah, as someone who focuses on the intimacy aspect, like what's that journey been like for you? Like, how did you get to this point where today you're doing the things that you're doing in this area?
So, as I said, it all began because I wanted to educate my children. But
Hmm.
at the same time, what happened was when I would speak, see, I will go to a workshop once.
Right.
They hear me, they understand all the
Right.
anatomy, the tips,
Hmm.
um, how to groom yourself, how to
Hmm.
behave, how to be, how to
Hmm.
think, how to
Hmm.
understand. But
Hmm.
that is only that much time,
Right.
like a maximum like 1 day, 2 day, 3 day
Hmm.
program. But
Hmm.
after that, what?
Right.
So that is where I realized that so I would never speak only to children. I would
Hmm.
always have either the teachers follow up
Right.
session or parents follow up session just to let them know this is what we've done.
Hmm.
Most of them are usually present if it's a private
Hmm.
setup. And how should they go about it from there on?
Hmm.
But having said that, I realized that parents were not ready.
Hmm.
Ready as in not that they were willing to, they wanted to, but
Hmm.
they didn't know how to. And
Hmm.
whatever they thought that they want to say, the
Hmm.
child wanted to know something else only.
Hmm.
So that is where I realized that it is extremely important that while I'm learning from the students what they
Hmm.
want to know and helping them out, it
Hmm.
is equally important for me to be available for the parents.
Right.
What are your concerns and how can I help you overcome them?
Right.
How can I give you the power of language?
Beautiful.
How can I teach that rather than
Hmm.
transferring your fear to them? How
Hmm.
can you convert your fear into a solution based action plan and
Hmm.
then give it to your child? So
Hmm.
that has been my journey.
Hmm.
Simultaneously, while I'm talking to the children,
Hmm.
I'm taking feedback from the parents, then curating something for the parents, and then going there.
Hmm.
Now that I started courses for the parents,
Right.
that's where I realized that, oh, they don't even speak about their own sexual life.
Right.
So, okay, I dive
Hmm.
deeper that if I want the children to be
Hmm.
educated, the
Beautiful.
parents have to be educated, and the
Right.
parents have to eradicate the taboo that they have in their mindset.
Hmm.
Only then, very openly, they will talk about this topic.
Right.
So, diving deeper, I understood that the main mindset of the parents
Hmm.
needs to change, and that's where I realized that their own life needs to change and their own mindset.
Hmm.
That's where I said, okay, so that means we have to talk about your sexual health and your
Hmm.
sexual relationships.
That's right.
So while parents were coming in their own capacity, I
Hmm.
had to bring in their partners because they both have
Hmm.
to be on the same page.
Hmm.
Parenting is about partners being in the same
Correct.
page. Their intimacy was about in the same page. Now, if
Hmm.
I'm going to tell these parents that I want to talk about your sex life, nobody's
Hmm.
interested. They're
Yeah.
like, who are you? Why do you want to know? I was like that, but anyways, that's not the answer.
Hmm.
So again, diving deeper. So one thing I will want to say here, Rahul, there are
Hmm.
no books who only talks about the sexual wellness of the children.
Right.
The challenges that we speak about, whether it's Kama Sutra does have
Hmm.
its own chapters, but
Sure.
we always speak about adult challenges.
Hmm.
So I had to learn all of the, not all, I can't say it's a vast chapter,
Hmm.
vast
Hmm.
topic. So I had to learn about the adult challenges,
Hmm.
understand where it all began, and
Hmm.
all the coaches and all the healers will know we always go back to childhood.
Hmm.
So learn about the adults, understand what happened to them,
Right.
reverse study it, understand it that in the childhood, if we can
Hmm.
change this,
Hmm.
then these problems can be eliminated or attended to
Mm.
at this age.
Wow.
So
Wow.
started learning about the adult intimacy, adult sexual wellness, adult relationships. So while
Mm.
I'm studying it, whoever
Mm.
were already present there,
Mm.
I was already catering to them. And
Wow.
at the same time, I was bringing it down to the childhood part of it.
Mm.
So there was not, my journey has not been about reading the material and giving it out, reading the
Right.
material and giving it out. It's
Right.
been sitting on it,
Mm.
understanding it, allowing myself to
Mm.
make sense of it, allowing myself to absorb it,
Mm.
and then bringing it down, and then talking in between. I'm talking to the parents, then bringing it down to the children and talking to the
Mm.
kids and
Amazing.
schools. So
Mm.
it's been a journey where I've been going
Right.
up and down from children to adults.
Right.
And in the whole scenario, now that
Mm.
I see these young children
Mm.
becoming young adults, having their own understanding of intimacy,
Right.
and then understanding, but their parents are somewhere else, they are
Mm.
somewhere else, then again bridging the gap. So
Right.
there's a lot. I think it's a circle. While I'm still doing this
Mm.
and this, it's actually
The
a
circle.
circle
Yeah.
where I
Beautiful.
listen to the kids,
Yeah.
I bring it to the parents,
Mm.
and then into their life, then understand them, bring it down, and then tell the children why this life is a little more safer than what you are exposed to.
Right.
So I'm just going in circles, talking
Wow.
to the children, their parents, and them
Mm.
as adults. So when somebody asks me, what do you do? It's so
Mm.
difficult for me to tell them. I know my mentors have told me, pick one niche, stick to it.
Right.
And in my head, I'm like, how?
How?
How do I
Yeah.
do that?
Exactly.
But I
Yeah.
understand where they come from, and I
Sure. Sure.
understand my own quest and my own desires.
Mm.
So I try to balance it that way.
Mm. Mm.
So yeah, it's
Beautiful. So two questions popped right now. You can pick whichever you
sure.
connect to immediately. So one is like what's been your experiences, your um, like what's it been like connecting with your mentors, like people who truly, it's like the heavens, the universe, all the gods put together, like they all conspired and they said, okay, this person will enter at this time in your life, and then this person will enter at this time in your life, right? So if you go back, so even if you look at let's say the last 20 years, that's one question. And the other is of course what you talked about right now, which is so powerful and controversial, which is the as especially and I'm talking in the context of the digital aspect, whether you're a coach or a healer, I believe they're interconnected. You may start as a coach, but you end up healing. That's how you end up really making a difference. Or you may start by knowing that yes, I have a healing modality, I really connect with it, I want to help people, but then you realize that you also, when you build a coaching business, that's when it becomes a business, which means you have,
Yes.
funnels, you have, all the levels and so on and so forth. So you can pick whichever version, whichever one you connect with first. But these are two questions that just popped in my mind right
So they are very interconnected
now.
also, Rahul, because I understand that initially when I had not yet dived into sex
Mm,
education,
mm,
my children were my mentors, where they were
mm,
demanding certain things and I was learning alongside and then
right,
giving it to them. At the same time, my first mentor came, first couple of mentors for the sex ed came in form of doctors who said that you need to know this,
mm,
and not only the children part of it, even the adult sexual
right,
wellness. So they came in the form of like, okay, I'm giving you content, I'm giving you topics,
mm,
this is what you need to know. Then from
right,
there, slow and steady, I've had the training fraternity where I had so many mentors. I remember Asif was the person who used to have these small events where all the trainers who came together
right,
would train the others of what they were
right,
good at. So
mm,
from MBTI personality test to NLP, I don't think I was introduced, but body
mm,
language, how to
mm,
speak, how to
mm,
question. Those small events that I attended, those were my mentors,
wow,
where I started understanding what training and coaching actually means.
mm,
Then when I started, then I had Success Gyan who came in,
mm.
Suren who spoke so brilliantly, his vision. okay,
Right.
even though he talks about it, there are so many things I picked up only from that
Hmm.
little time he spends on the stage, like how he
Hmm.
got his vision. Like when
Hmm.
he shares his story, I'm learning where my vision came from. I'm
Right.
learning how to speak. I saw Velamani sir, coming and saying how storytelling is important. And
Hmm.
then I heard all those brilliant trainers who trained me from MMI to Quantum Leap,
Hmm.
and all those people who came along, and then Siddharth who came along to say
Hmm.
how digital platform is so powerful, where
Hmm.
I was doing all those home visits and then school
Right.
visits, and then
Right.
COVID hit, and Siddharth came like a god, he's like, yeah, they do this, not like personally I've ever met him, or
Right.
but it was so powerful. And
Beautiful.
somewhere all those myths that sex ed
Hmm.
cannot be spoken
Right.
online, you have to have them in front of you, it did change a lot.
Hmm.
And I've done amazing workshops and keynote speakings just like
Nice.
this. And then COVID hit with like a
Hmm.
blessing,
Hmm.
where I've reached all parts of the world, where I've spoken, people
Nice.
have known about me, all these
Beautiful.
platforms. So
Hmm.
Siddharth came to introduce me to this whole digital
Right.
platforms, and
Hmm.
how to create my courses. And somebody who never wanted to face the camera started speaking and learning to
Wow.
be natural.
Hmm.
It would be like a machine looking at me, and I'm like, what am I talking to you? Like, how can I do that? Like, who are you? Like, can you talk back to me? To now joking like this with you
Yeah.
and saying that
Yeah.
it can be done.
Beautiful.
So Siddharth was there,
Hmm.
Sureen was there,
Hmm.
so many people came, and then
Hmm.
colleagues like you, where we would sit together, attend a workshop, look at each other and say, we got to talk. And then have those conversations
Yeah.
where those literally those light bulbs that we, like
Hmm.
वो chocolate की ad कैसे होती है, लड्डू फूटते
Hmm.
हैं
Food.
वैसे
Food के.
फूट फूट के, and I'm like, oh, that's an idea. Oh, I didn't think about this. Then
Right.
so I think mentors have come into my life
Hmm.
in so many different forms. Every child who's asked me a question, every
Hmm.
child who's expressed something to me, gave
True.
me something to think, to learn,
Hmm.
to ponder upon. And I've had amazing mentor like Dr. Vatsa. I cannot
Hmm.
not mention him.
Yes.
And he was the one who just sat,
Yeah.
who just spoke to me like,
Yeah.
Niyati, are you doing this? Why? And then
Hmm.
he was
Yes.
92, I think, when I met him. And
Wow.
yeah, I mean, he was, oh
Wow.
God, my
That's
heart
beautiful.
fills when I talk about
Hmm.
him. He's just sitting in his chair in his home, in that room that he calls his working room. And
Hmm.
he's all set with his shirt and Bermudas and be like, did you do that? Did you open the association? Why haven't you? You must. You have that capability. You
Wow.
can bring in those people. Why you haven't done that? Have you read this book? Wait, I'll give you a book. I don't think I've ever come back from
Wow.
meeting him and he's not gifted a book to me.
Hmm.
Read this. And then his stories of
Hmm.
how 40 years back, 50 years back now, he
Amazing.
would do all the sex education.
Right.
So I've had mentors who've just believed in giving.
Hmm.
बुक ले ले, कॉन्टैक्ट ले ले, इससे जाके मिल. He would actually say that Niyati is coming to meet you now.
Beautiful.
So
Wow.
there's no question of can you go
Hmm.
and meet, go now. That doctor is waiting for you. I've
Wow.
met amazing doctors like Dr. Vittal, Dr. Raj Brahmbhatt.
Hmm.
I cannot not mention him also. Like even
Hmm.
today, if I have achieved something, he will call me to say, Niyati, congratulations, and I'm so proud of you. And I cannot stop telling the world how good you are. And I've
Amazing.
had amazing people
Beautiful.
who've come into my life. And even today,
Hmm.
they are in touch with me. They might not
Hmm.
speak to me daily, but
Hmm.
their wishes are always with me.
Hmm.
Their tips are always with me. I
Right.
still remember Suren telling me,
Hmm.
you've not finished your course. I'm not giving you your money back. Come finish it. And I'm sitting in my own, zone. I'm like,
Right.
the time will come. The right time will
Right.
come. So
Right.
I've had these people who've never given up on me. I've
Hmm.
had these people who've said that, tu to already you're there. Just
Right.
take it forward from where you are doing.
Hmm.
I remember Mehernosh also telling this to me
Mm,
that Niyati. So I was looking out for answers. Why should
mm,
I do NLP? I don't do a course if it's
mm,
not clear in my head. If I don't know my path, if I don't know what I'm going to do about it, I don't do it. So NLP was something I sat over for years.
right,
And Mehernosh one day came and said, "Okay, I'm telling you why you should do it," because he was not teaching yet. So I was
right,
looking at other coaches
right.
and I wouldn't just understand why I should do it.
Mm,
And he said that, you said this is NLP. You did this with that client, this is NLP.
mm.
You did this with me, just this is NLP. And I'm like, is it? He's like, you are already doing it,
Yeah,
Niyati,
yeah,
subconsciously.
yeah.
All you need to do is bring it into your awareness
Mm,
and then put it in perspective for your clients.
right.
And that's how I got my NLP mentor. And
Beautiful.
here we are doing workshops and workshops. So, speaking about intimacy that you asked me,
Mm,
this is how I got my mentors who said that take it
mm,
further, push yourself, come
mm,
out on the uncomfortable zones that you've
mm,
been avoiding. Take it forward, take it forward,
mm,
take it forward. And
mm.
here I am
Beautiful.
talking about intimacy, talking
Mm,
about sexual toys, talking about all the positions, talking
mm,
about how will you talk about porn to your children, talking
mm,
about, oh, your children already watch the porn, come talk to me, bring your
mm.
child. Then counseling came into the picture
Right.
where it was one to many, now it's one to one. So
Mm,
a lot of things happened
mm,
on the way where all these mentors came at the right time and
right.
they're waiting for me to still push ahead. They've
Mm,
not left me.
mm.
They are still waiting in connection with me to
Beautiful.
say, thoda kam baki hai Niyati, and let's take it up from there.
Beautiful.
So it's like that.
Beautiful. So, I mean, you know this, I'm saying it out loud. These conversations, like we've had many, I've obviously lost count of how many. And we've literally, had these conversations at a point when the world was in a question mark mode, right? So 2020, 2021, and then of course 2022, right? Literally those 3 years where we didn't know
Yeah.
literally what the future is going to be.
Yes.
So we've had conversations like that. So that, for me, everything is intuitive. And what came to me just now was, and you're helping me also, by the way, the structure of shape the structure of these podcast episodes. So, if you were to, based on what you've shared so far, right, for the time that we've been together here, if you were to kind of summarize it for someone watching, they may be just tuning in, they may have stayed on till now, and they've been traveling with you on and in your stories. If you were to kind of zoom out for a second and you know like saying dissociate, and if you're seeing yourself and the journey so far, um, what would be maybe 3 or 5 things that you're like, yeah, you know what? If you are a digital coach, if you are a healer, or if you're a digital coach and a healer, right? These are like 3 or 5 things to to keep in mind, because I lived it,
Yes.
and that's why I get to be who I am today. And picture to abhi baki hai, right? So
Yes.
it's like based on so far what you shared.
One, to all the coaches,
Hmm.
get digital
Hmm.
anyways. And all the digital coaches, fantastic job done, go out anyways. That's the first thing.
Hmm.
Experience both. Second thing, don't stop learning and asking
Hmm.
questions.
Hmm.
Whether it is an online course that you just came across or
Hmm.
somebody's recommended you,
Hmm.
go ahead and do it because it's
Hmm.
come to you for a reason.
Hmm.
So listen to the universe when something comes to you. Of
Right.
course, the algorithm is doing its job,
Hmm.
but there is an intervention, I would
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
So educate yourself.
Hmm.
Third thing I would say is always be in gratitude of all these mentors who come to you in different times with different themes, and do not underestimate
Hmm.
anyone's skill. If somebody is
Right.
saying that learn how to sit on a Zoom
Mm.
call, learn it any which ways, because that makes you,
Mm.
you know, I'll just add in a small example
Mm.
here. A diamond is not the diamond that you see when
Mm.
somebody finds it, or
Mm.
when it appears,
Mm.
from its natural self.
Mm.
You have to shape it. So
Mm.
shape yourself in that way. Learn all the modalities that you can
Mm.
around the niche you have picked up. So when
Mm.
I did sex education, I didn't do only sex education. I'm learning psychology, I'm learning NLP,
Mm.
I did graphology, I did metaphor therapy. I'm
Nice.
doing as much as I
Mm.
can to bring it in a bouquet and then giving the flower to the client to whatever they
Mm.
desire or whatever they need. So I
Mm.
am equipped with a lot of things and keep polishing myself. So
Nice.
educate, um, don't stop learning, get out of
Mm.
your comfort zone, be outrageous. This is
Mm.
the word I picked up from
Wink,
Success
wink.
Gyan. Yes, but at the same time, I think I always was, to begin
Yeah.
with, in my
Yeah.
head,
Mm.
as a personality, not in my actions, maybe.
Right.
But at the same time, in my personality, it never stopped me. I never stopped from what I wanted to do. So be
Mm.
outrageous. When I say outrageous, I mean to say whatever you believe in, even if the
Mm.
world says it can't be done, do it.
Mm.
It'll be amazing to see how people introduce you in the world later to say how Rahul did. I don't think I've even done the job that I'm here for, but I know for a fact that I've never missed an opportunity.
Mm.
So this is my next thing to tell all the coaches: do
Mm.
not miss an opportunity that comes your way. Learn
Mm.
to recognize what an opportunity means. For
Mm.
example, I was a small I was a parent. Then
Mm.
somebody told me, go to the groups and talk. I said, okay. Never said
Mm.
no. Learn to go to the groups and talk. Go to schools and talk. Learn to go
Mm.
to schools and talk.
Mm.
Somebody said, can you make a PPT for me? I remember giving my PPT to an
Wow.
expert for the first time. Then I said, itna paisa to I can't give. And then learn to make the PPTs myself.
Right.
So learn that.
Mm.
That's an opportunity. Then
Mm.
somebody told me, write an article. I wrote an
Mm.
article. Then
Mm.
somebody told me that, how do we remember all that you've said?
Right.
So I wrote a book. So
Mm.
that was an opportunity
Mm.
to raise myself a little more.
Right.
Then somebody said, would you do an interview? I don't know how to do an interview. I said, yes, I will. So
Mm.
never say no.
No. Beautiful.
Go for it,
Mm.
because the universe's job is to give you all the opportunities.
Mm.
It's yours to take it.
Beautiful.
So don't say no
Mm.
and be outrageous. This is what I mean by say be outrageous. Say yes and then learn and do it.
Right. Beautiful.
So
Yeah. Mm.
I've done all of this and I'm still looking for
Mm.
opportunities to say, up next, kya? So of course
Nice.
I have my vision board and I know certain things
Mm.
I want to head towards, but I just shared one with you. I won't say it
Mm.
right now till
Say.
it becomes a reality. But putting a hint out in the
Mm.
universe, the talk show is coming up.
Yes.
So yes, I want to do
Yes.
that, and that's the next thing. So
Yes.
there's always a vision,
Yeah.
and then whatever comes along, let's go ahead with it. So
Beautiful.
coaches learn to
Mm.
heal, learn the modalities. Healers learn how to question
Mm.
because it's super powerful. The
Mm.
right questions to the right person. Be
Mm.
intuitive. Learn so many things I've said,
Yeah.
but as a package,
No, thank you for
this is
saying
what I
that,
have done.
especially that last part, right? I mean, I know I kind of like the two trains were like suddenly side by side. What you
Joined.
said, the last part is really that's the $1 million nugget from this segment, right? Like healers learn to heal, meaning heal yourself more and more. It's never over, right?
Absolutely.
That's one. And something you said, um, or you said coaches learn to heal, right? That's the one part. And of course Freudian slip, but it's so apt that healers also learn to heal yourself, right? I know I'm one of those that um, was all about helping other people for the longest time on my journey. And then I had my own experiences where I realized that, okay, no, even I need to heal myself, and practice what I've been learning more on myself. And it's not just only about other people and helping them. That's one part. And you said something very powerful. You said healers learn to ask questions. So when we say coach, it's basically asking questions, right?
Yes.
Because when you ask questions, that is when the healing begins, because that realization, that awareness opens up in people and they go, oh shit, too late.
Yeah.
Because now that
Yeah.
question has,
Yes.
it's like it's gone deeper and deeper in, and it takes root, right? And
Yes.
that's how our minds are how our minds are designed, how our minds work. So when you ask questions, now even if you try and unhear it, you can't. Your mind will, like the, like the ultimate Google plus AI plus everything, and then a trillion times more, it will go and find you the answer, right? So when
Yes.
you ask questions, your clients can't help but uh, find the
Dive
answers for
deeper.
that, right?
Absolutely.
So something you said earlier, I'm sort of like circling back to that, which is, uh, I know there are people out there, especially who are on this journey of coaching and healing, in a professional context, who struggle a lot with this, the concept of niches, right? I know it's more
Hmm.
an American expression,
Hmm.
NICHE, which is a niche or a niche, right? So niches and riches. So we'll just go with niches for now. Um, what's your journey been like to be more of who you are today, as compared to when you were in that early phase of learning from digital mentors and people who are marketers and people who are talking a lot about have one niche, focus on one niche, make it a
Yes.
micro niche.
Yes.
I mean, these are like
Yes.
jargon, but for people who are coaches, you by
Absolutely.
now
They
it's
understand.
impossible not to have heard of these terms.
Yes.
But I'd love to hear from your perspective, because you've been in the trenches, you've been like deep down in the depths of it, and you also risen from it. So what's your journey, and then of course uh, what's what's your philosophy based on your experiences?
So, in the conversations, when I would hear and when I heard even Siddharth talk about it, that's the first I heard, like,
Mm,
what's your niche and then what's your super niche? And I was like, sex ed में कैसे niche हो सकता है? Like, how do I do that?
right.
But then I realized that anyways, I was talking to children at that
Mm,
point in time. So I said, okay, I coach or I take workshops for children.
mm,
One, to understand how to be safe. Two, during their puberty. That
mm,
is where I started. Then I realized those children are growing up and now they want to know about the teenage. So I grew
mm,
up with them to now say
beautiful.
that I sex educate children, and children
Mm,
is till the age of 17. So I
mm,
took up all those topics. And with Siddharth, I also realized that I don't have to always have a live workshop. I can create my
mm,
courses, put it up there for the ones who want it, and then
right.
focus on the age group that I really want to.
Mm,
So that's where I started understanding, okay, fine.
mm,
So all the children courses are happening, and
mm,
now I want to move towards the adults.
right.
So, and I do, and because I do certification courses also, I had students who wanted to do
Mm,
it for the children. So might
mm,
as well give them the platform,
right.
and why not go higher and
Mm,
understand deeper into this. So
mm,
niche, what I've understood from the conversations was,
mm,
I need to have that niche when I want to focus on my marketing and sales.
mm,
But in my personality, I knew that I wanted to talk about all the topics.
right.
So, what I started doing was my counseling sessions, my keynote speaking became
Mm,
broader.
mm,
But my courses and workshops, which I was selling particularly for my income,
mm,
that became my niche.
wow.
So, what do? I train children and their parents.
Nice.
So, that is the distinction I realized after having loads and loads of talks with
Mm,
you. I remember you giving me so many ideas. Why don't you make it like level one, level two,
guilty.
writing a book, do this, make it a bundle, make it a
Yeah,
package? And I was like,
yeah,
but then parents ke saath, and I remember arguing with you, like, then we'll talk to the parents.
correct,
And you would bring me back, like,
correct.
niche ke bare mein baat kar rahe hain na. So
Mm,
then I understood the distinction. I said, okay, I get this. Like,
mm,
for the people who are listening to me, she's a sex educator who talks
right.
to children.
Mm,
And then there was another whole community who
mm,
came to me for their kids, who then realized I can go to her for me too.
nice.
And
Beautiful.
that's where then I realized that I don't have to market myself out
Yes.
saying that I do A, B, C, D, A, Y, like XYZ.
Mm,
I do one. and then automatically it all
Yeah.
brings me back. So
Beautiful.
I think it is if you're doing this not as just I'm doing it because I'm passionate about it, but if
Mm.
you want to earn your money, then your
Yeah.
niche is super, super
Yeah.
important. Knowing your target audience is equally
Mm.
important. Knowing how to speak about it is
Mm.
important. So whether it's marketing, sales,
Mm.
awareness about
Mm.
how you're positioning yourself, where
Mm.
you're positioning
Mm.
yourself, all that is important.
Beautiful.
And all these mentors who are talking about it, they know what they're
Mm.
talking about. So
Mm.
if you have a question, it just means you've not dived deeper,
Mm.
or you've not been able to choose because you know you're good at many things.
Yeah.
But it's okay. Know your market,
Mm.
see what they want, not what you want to give. I remember this conversation also. Not what you want to give, what they want, and then choose that niche and give it to them any which ways. And then
Right.
all the rest will fall into place.
Right. Beautiful. So, something you said right now, right? Um, and again, this is truly, truly inspired by by you and what you just said. When we talk about mindset,
Hmm.
what's been your journey, your evolution, your philosophy on mindset, especially when it comes to marketing, comes to sales, when it comes to money? Because you said something literally a few seconds ago about, it's not just passion, but when you're doing passion plus business, you can do it in whichever order. But as in, for some people, it's business plus passion, or it's like, no, I really am passionate about this. I really want to help people, and it's a business, right?
Yes.
So in this context, what's your what's your philosophy on this when it comes to the mindset?
Hard one. I've learned this a very hard way. So initially, it was all about helping people, helping
Mm,
people, helping people. I'm good
mm,
at it. I want to help people.
mm,
So I would not go out and sell myself.
mm,
It sounds different to different people, but I'll explain what I'm saying
mm,
very shortly. When I say sell myself, it means
mm,
make it available to people. But when I started realizing that I'm counting my money, but I've
mm,
not made enough, but I've not made enough. That's where I realized that you cannot say, I want to help people,
mm,
not charge because you want to help, and then say,
mm,
I'm not earning my money. Then don't look at this
mm,
as your income, as your
mm,
line of income. Then go
mm.
sell samosas, go sell clothes,
Yeah,
go sell what you want to do, and
yeah,
earn your money there and continue
correct.
doing what you're doing.
Mm,
But if you want to say, I'm good at this, I
mm,
want to help people,
mm,
and it's okay to charge for two reasons.
mm,
One, I feel that I've given value for what you've
mm,
given back to me. It becomes a trade in a way, but
mm.
it's a very, very pious, very, it's like people want clothes to wear, that's why you're selling it. So
Correct.
why feel ashamed about it, or
Mm,
why feel you're not helping people? You're still helping
beautiful.
people.
Mm,
So you're still helping the person, but you
mm,
are charging them for what
yes.
you're giving them, for
Mm,
what you're making available. This
mm,
happens especially for people which are service based industry.
yeah.
There's no hard product.
Mm,
So that is that.
mm,
Second thing, what I realized by charging people is I was filtering out all those people
mm, beautiful.
who were जनरली कमिंग टू talk to me, yeah, like ए वही हाँ तू फ्री है तो चल तेरे से बात कर लेते हैं types. And I realized I was draining out
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I was putting all
Mm,
that I had,
mm,
all my energy
yeah.
into helping them out, and then
Mm,
they were like, okay, okay, I've heard you, I'm not doing anything, and
mm,
I'm gone. And I was
yeah.
like, you cannot
Mm,
not value what I'm
yeah,
giving you.
yeah.
So when you are bargaining with me, I understand that you may have a problem.
Mm,
Give me the first amount, and you will not even believe how I help you out.
beautiful.
But don't talk about give it to me, but I'm not going to value you.
Mm,
Won't come out of me now.
yeah.
So in my journey, that's what I've realized about myself.
Mm,
When you are taking your passion,
mm,
but there is an expectation that you want to earn your money, that
mm,
learn to balance it, learn to value your
yeah.
own skills, your
Mm,
own time, your own
mm,
energy.
mm,
And there is always space to
mm,
give away by not charging to the right people in the right
beautiful.
space in the
Mm,
right time, and you will always have that opportunity. So I always have my fixed number of workshops that I do for
Mm.
free. I
Mm.
always have my fixed, NGOs,
Right.
schools where I
Beautiful.
never charge them. I always have those set of family and friends who I know
Mm.
cannot pay me but are in dire need,
Mm.
and I will be available for them. So
Mm.
I do what makes me happy, which
Mm.
makes me sleep at night. But then
Mm.
I know that this is the only place I'm earning my income. So
Mm.
then I do what I need to do for my
Beautiful.
income too.
Mm.
So it's okay to do your
Mm.
thing also and then to
Mm.
expect money also. Not the
Mm.
problem, can be done.
Mm. Mm. I love it. So if you zoom out for a second and you were to say, okay, now I've given you the heart version of this. I've shared my heart for the last like 10 minutes, telling you about, money philosophy and how it has, you know, I've learned this. It's not only what I've studied, but I've learned it through personal experience. And I would guess you've actually summarized about 12 or 15 years in the last like 5 minutes, right? So if you were to say, okay, let me zoom out and let me give you like a listicle. Okay, these are the three philosophies to the three aspects of my philosophy to keep in mind when it comes to money, when it comes to
Hmm.
money mindset, basically, right? Because that's so important, so vital for digital coaches and healers, like the money mindset part of it.
Yes. So as I said
Mm,
earlier, I wanted to help.
mm,
So I felt guilty of charging
mm,
money.
mm,
So that's the first thing I would like to tell all the coaches and healers, that if you value what you are giving to people,
mm.
it's okay to ask for the value in a tangible product, which is money.
Beautiful.
It's okay to
Mm,
do that. That's the
mm.
mind shift I had. It's okay
Lovely.
to charge
Yeah.
and not feel guilty about it.
Mm.
Second, you might
just
not
just to
know
pause you here, when you say so not I can't help this, okay, not feel guilty, which means feel.
deserving.
Ooh. Charge money and feel deserving. Wow. Love it.
Yeah. Um,
Mm.
because you've not done it for nothing.
Yeah,
You
of
have
course,
invested whatever
of
you
course.
have. So you do deserve that.
Mm.
So that's one. So I think that's what shifted in me, that I
Mm.
deserve it. I deserve it. That's why the
Because
word
you're worth it.
uh, I'm worth it. um, yeah, so people in between can see the snapshots of who the baby in me, the child in me.
Mm.
Okay, so that was the first thing. Second thing, educate yourself, because
Mm.
sometimes the mindset that we are talking about when it comes to money, you
Mm.
also don't know
Yeah.
what your belief system is. So that is where my journey from MMI started. There are all
Mm.
those activities, I won't say it out loud,
Sure.
but
Yeah. Yeah.
and I was like, oh, I was so scared. And I always thought I didn't deserve, and
Mm.
helping means without money, and all that mindset shifted because there was a mentor present who taught me how to think, and
Beautiful.
who shared and who helped me dive into. I didn't even know there was something called belief system.
Yes.
What is belief system?
Yeah.
That's where I realized, okay, there is something called beliefs, and it
Mm.
can be altered. So that is another thing I would like to
Mm.
say about mindset. It
Mm.
can be altered, and nobody is pushing you and forcing you.
Nice.
You will decide and you will choose if you want to shift.
Mm.
Nobody is forcing, they are only
Mm.
presenting it to you. So
Mm.
look into your own belief system,
Right.
see if you would like to change it,
Mm.
if it is aligning with your goal, especially about money,
Mm.
because it all begins when we were kids, and
Yes.
how our environment spoke about money,
Yeah.
how they made you feel when you were asking for it.
Mm. Yeah.
And that can
Wow.
change
Wow.
as this business person.
Yeah.
So
Powerful.
educate yourself,
Beautiful.
empower yourself,
Mm.
and again, be outrageous to shift.
Yeah. It's funny hearing you say this. Outrageous can be in the most unusual ways, and it today couldn't have been a more appropriate. occasion, platform, situation. Like me, if for those of you who haven't, if you just happen to tune in here, go back to the beginning and watch the first 5, 7, 8 minutes, because outrageous also means being open with your feelings. The fact
Yes.
that I was so overwhelmed with emotion, and when I get overwhelmed with emotions, it's like, men do cry at movies, uh, and this man does cry at, on his own podcast, amongst the
I
many
love you for
places,
that.
because because this is what it means to be outrageous. Not only be loud and brash and, um, almost to the point of obnoxious. That's fine. I mean,
Yeah.
it's we all need something to help us break out of whatever shell we've been living in for probably for decades. But it also is about, being willing to be vulnerable, to connect to your feelings, and whatever those feelings may be in the moment. I think
Yeah.
for me, if I kind of correlate, that's been one of the biggest lessons. And I won't obviously go into the story of it right now, but I'll tell you, like you shared about the money beliefs and the money mindset. It took me 3 times of, even with the MMI, to go back. First time I went, we did it together. Second time I was a crew member. The third time I went back again as a student.
I remember. Yeah.
And that's when that, when you say, dimag ka tala, it's like that was when finally one massive, money belief, just in an instant, it just broke, right? it just
Hmm.
it just reversed itself, and I went, oh, okay, I get it. You When we talk about truly, not lip service, not just saying it, but truly valuing money, I had that moment, and it literally probably was like 35 years in the making, right? So my point is that you never know where your sort of moment of realization can happen. So I mean, truly, like, that's one of the reasons why I get drawn to intuitively, like, I know who, like, literally, we spoke about a week ago. You had no idea that we were going to be on like this today, and here we are. And um, I remember, again, this is just sharing with people, because this is the whole point of these podcasts. It's not some cookie cutter. You must be, all suited, booted, and sort of like go down the list of questions, kind of a thing. There are all kinds of podcasts for all kinds of people, right? And when we spoke, I'm just sharing this, on our platform. Two parts. One is, we had this dream, for a moment, and for those of you who were around during COVID, listening to Clubhouse, we had this idea to do a Clubhouse, right? We even did one episode, if you want to call it that, and then it just didn't feel right. And then, of course, we were talking yesterday, a week ago, and I was like, yeah, so, can you come on, for today's podcast? And I guess after the fact, I realized that you hadn't fully heard what I had said in the way I had said it. And you, yeah, 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 wow, amazing, let's do it. And then you realize, oh, okay, he's not coming to meet me in person. We're just, but I can tell you this, and there will be people, more importantly, there'll be people who will attest to the experience that they've had today, which has reshaped their minds, right? So, uh, there are no accidents, right? So, again, this is just me, at this point in the podcast, just, taking all of this in, and truly, um, uh, feeling and expressing my gratitude to you, Niyati, for just jumping in, saying, yeah, okay, let's do this, right? Now, having said all of this, uh, I know you've kind of mentioned in at different points today, the different things that you're doing. We've talked a little bit about funnels also. But this is that point where, I'm curious to know what's been your journey, when you say, okay, so today I have this funnel, or I have these, this product, and I know one tiny little story. That same time when we met in 2019, I happened to be still hanging around in Bombay, and you had your book launch, so you invited me for your book launch. It was so beautiful. I One was, of course, I got to be a special, you're like, hey, come, I'm doing this thing. So I said, okay. I was there, and I got to see you. I got to see your mom. And I remember you felicitated your mom as well, you like from the stage. So it was really beautiful to see that. So, zooming out, if I was to say, okay, so Niyati, like, typically one would say, okay, how can people get in touch with you? But this is more like, what's the story behind the current product or workshop or whatever it is that you're currently running and that you're putting a lot of your energy into today?
Um, wow. So I think I began with, as I was saying, one to many students.
Hmm.
But right now I am majorly, so books are in place. I have two puberty books, one
Yeah.
for girls, one for boys. It's
Hmm.
called When Girls Grow Up, When Boys Grow Up.
Hmm.
My third book is being edited.
Nice.
It's about a parenting book,
Hmm.
but it is on pornography. So when kids
Hmm.
watch porn. So that is the book that I'm working on, and a couple of
Hmm.
other workbooks. There is a bundle which is available now for puberty children, for the
Hmm.
parents and children. So it has the book, it has the recorded versions of the course for
Hmm.
parents, for children, and a lot of other supportive courses, like the affirmations are in place, and a lot of other things are available in
Hmm.
that bundle. That's for puberty, and the counseling sessions, which
Right.
they can have with me either
Hmm.
for themselves, as
Hmm.
a couple, as parents, as children.
Hmm.
So I think slow and steady, I started building one after the other.
Hmm.
It started with workshops, then it came to book, then it came to
Hmm.
the courses, then it came
Hmm.
to counseling, and now it is about intimacy for
Hmm.
couples. So there's a WhatsApp course happening right
Nice.
now as we speak.
Nice.
It's our 37th day today. It's a 45-day small acts every
Beautiful.
day, which
Hmm.
brings you both together, like
Right.
closer, basically,
Hmm.
without giving any kind of lectures to you. I'll just ask you to do
Hmm.
these small things. And while we are doing this, another book is in the um,
Nice.
it's in the head.
Beautiful. Yeah.
It's there somewhere. So the journey's been like keep creating products
Yeah.
in shapes of
Hmm.
books and courses.
Hmm.
There might be few more merchandise that are coming, but I don't want to be just somebody who's introducing t-shirts and introducing.
Hmm.
It's a great thing to do, but it has to hit what I do.
Right.
Um, so working on that. So a lot of
Beautiful.
things in the
Hmm.
pipeline, but at the
Hmm.
same time, the courses, the books,
Yeah.
the workshops, the counseling, they're all available to the people.
Beautiful. Yeah. So definitely, just a reminder at this point, and if you do for some reason happen to have your books at hand, if you can just show it on screen, if it is. Otherwise, of course, I will be, putting up the links. You have a link tree, so if you click on it, you'll
Yes.
you'll get to see some of the links. I don't know if the bundle link is up or not, but I guess at the time when by the time people see this, uh, it
I'll make sure
might
it
be
is.
included or not. But you'll definitely see. I know I've
Yes.
briefly went through them, so I know the books for the boy and targeted at the young boy and the young girl. Those are up on
Yes.
the link tree, so you can definitely click on those and pick it up on whichever platform that your I know Amazon has it,
Yes.
and yeah, so that's like the start of it, and then of course you have the website, and people can definitely reach out to you. So um, this is why it's so important, that people get to find you in the most, like, exactly where they are. And it's like literally that link showed up in their life, right? Just like you shared, like your mentor showed up at exactly the right time, right? Whether it was
Absolutely.
Siddharth or whether it was Dr. Vatsa as well, at the time when it's like I know that I myself have been on this journey for 20 years, so I know how powerful it is when
Yes.
you literally, like, the person has been sent for you.
Yes.
So uh, yeah, it's really beautiful. I mean, just hearing how all of this has, like, come to who you are being literally today, and what you have, that people can tap into, where it's not all based on your time, right? Because I think that's been one of the biggest challenges for most coaches and healers, which is there's only so many hours in the day, there's only so many sessions that you can do, and this kind of work that we do, I mean, yes, there are people who are able to do multiple sessions in a day, but there is a physical cap on it, there is an emotional cap on it.
Yes.
um, so it's really beautiful to hear how it's all kind of come together now, and it's available in so many forms. I'm saying that also because, like I said, I've been privy to a lot of these conversations from way back from 2019, where we were all thinking of the world in a certain way, and then 2020
Yes.
happened, and it just
Happened.
completely, it, like, some of us were lucky that we were ready, so we were able to kind of not entirely lose our footing, but just regroup. um, and all of that today is showing up like this, and as you can probably tell, I'm really kicked that we're having this part of that conversation. So one more question, and this is something which is very close to my heart, um, which has everything to do with community, right? Quick personal story here. I myself, uh, even though I've been on this journey now for literally 2 decades, community is something that I hadn't fully like tapped into, right? It didn't click until around about COVID time, right? So I know, especially today, how vital it is. Not just
Yes.
important, how vital it is for the existence and for the longevity of any, whether you're as a coach, or whether you are a healer who wants to have a business. Having a community is truly that lifeblood, right?
Yes.
So I'd love to hear your perspective on what's been your experience of being in a community, as well as creating your own community, your own movement. So
So, as I said, Rahul, for me, these parents came in for their children. We
mm,
formed a whole group
mm,
where I specifically with the intention of, you can talk about this here.
mm,
They're all parents, they're all
mm,
children,
mm,
children, they have the
mm,
same challenges. So let's speak about it, because talking about sex education is like, or sexual topics is like a big thing.
mm,
And then to share that my child did this, or he's
mm,
watching this, or she
mm,
did this, it is scary for a parent to put it.
mm,
It's the parent really has to be vulnerable. But
mm,
having said that, when the community finds that this is a non-judgmental space,
mm,
as the community leaders or admins, we are making sure that people are here with the same intention and they respect the
mm,
space. So if you
mm,
can build that group of people, I
mm.
think a lot comes out of it. Because one, they've already synced in with you.
Right.
Two, they trust you.
Mm,
Three, they know your style.
mm,
Four, by that time, the mindset already is aligning with yours.
mm,
So the work that you have to do is way less from where you begin with
mm.
them as strangers to then say, oh, but you know what? I know Niyati, what would she have said? I've had this so many times
Oh,
where
beautiful.
parents say that my child asked me this question, and in my head, I'm like, what would Niyati say? And
Beautiful.
then they reply to their children, and I'm like, I cannot be more blessed than that. So
Mm,
this community works in so many magical
mm,
ways you will not even fathom.
mm,
And more things come out of this community who's
mm.
aligning with you.
Yeah.
And I think so the community is a powerful place to build.
Mm,
You also realize a lot of things about yourself. So
mm.
your journey also aligns with them,
Yes.
how
Yes.
they feel about you, what are their
Mm,
feedback towards you.
mm,
So not only that you are gaining customers or clients out of
mm,
there, but you are learning a lot about your own self and your
mm,
leadership qualities. So I remember doing this for 2 years where
mm,
I took up counsels from Vicky, and
mm.
how
Correct.
they never had a topic on sex education,
Mm,
and how I requested them and took up the reproductive counsel and began
mm.
something. They have 180 councils,
Right.
but didn't have a single on this topic.
Wow.
So, how I began the next movement there,
Mm,
how they agreed, how I got to speak on that topic as a
mm,
national
mm.
leader, and
Beautiful.
how I brought it into my community. how I
Wow.
learned to be a leader. So it's also important
Mm.
when that group of people come together to align with you.
Wow.
Powerful,
Mm.
powerful.
Beautiful.
So even if you have a community of 10 people, don't
Mm.
hesitate, begin.
Yeah.
In no
True.
time, you will see it becoming
Mm.
a 10,000 and then a 10 lakh
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
community.
Amazing. Amazing. You know, hearing you say this, I had this sudden flashback of sitting in was it the bagel shop, right, in Bandra? When you were like, I'm thinking of this, Fiki, uh, what was it? Vicky,
Vicky,
Fiki,
Vicky,
Vicky, right, with a W,
W.
correct? It was a WICCI, right?
Yes,
That was the,
yes,
and then of course over several months, post having set this up in the conversations and your own thoughts, and it's like now you get to kind of zoom out and just kind of reflect on it as being part of
yes,
your
yes.
journey, and how you've grown because of those experiences,
Just to add to that, so the first year was me as a council member.
right?
Second year was me as the national president of
Yes.
that council of reproductive
Yep.
health. The third year, I
Mm.
started my own council for sex educators and said,
Wow.
now that I've learned how to be in this community and how to serve the people of my,
Right.
see, there's something called giving back to the society, giving
Mm.
back to my own country.
Mm.
So that is where I said, let me bring the sex educators on board. Let them have this opportunity to
Mm.
go and speak to their people in their
Beautiful.
city
Mm.
and their residents, like, where they live,
Mm.
and let them begin there. And that's how
Right.
my own council of sex educators came into being. So that's what
Mm.
I'm saying. These communities can be so powerful in
Right.
so many different ways.
Mm.
So, and
Amazing.
these conversations help.
Mm. So you're I consider that you're extremely blessed that you get to do this work at the it's like when you say at a 10,000 or a 30,000 feet from that from that height, you're able to see things. Obviously you have more perspective, um, which I truly, I wish for everybody who's listening here that they have, some, it's like, some form of this in their lives. The other part is, uh, when you look at your own community, because, and I'm saying this also because there are a lot of coaches, a lot of healers who are still struggling with, you know, figuring out what way to run their community. Because
Hmm.
having a community is one thing, running the community is another thing, which I myself am on that journey. So
Yeah.
since you've seen things from a very different perspective, um, when you look at it, say today, how you run your community or how your community functions, I'd love for you to share a little bit about that. Like, what after having done all these different experiments, where are you at today at the time of this recording? Like, where are you today on that journey of having a community and having the community be able to sort of be self-sustaining?
Yeah. So I think what is most important when it comes to community is make yourself available consistently.
Mm,
Don't ghost them, don't disappear, be
mm,
available to them,
mm,
irrespective of how much otherwise you charge outside.
mm,
These are the people who have put their trust into us. So,
mm,
one is be consistent, two
mm,
is always bring something new to their table.
mm,
Okay, because you cannot just keep repeating the same thing, they've got that. So, bring
mm,
something new, respect that space,
mm,
and have these programs periodically where there is a Q&A session or
mm,
something new that you've read
mm,
about or learned about. There could be a book reading session,
mm,
something to learn, something for the community to learn.
mm,
Allow them to interact within themselves. It just
mm,
cannot be, you are my community, you listen to me.
mm,
It's a community. So they
mm,
have to be able to interact with one another,
mm,
and at the same time monitor it,
mm,
because especially topics like mine, I've had those kind of communities where it
mm.
went out of hand,
Right.
and we had to remove a chunk of people, and then
Mm.
others lost the faith
Yeah.
in that community to say
Mm.
nahi yahan pe to sab aise hi hota hai, where that was never the intention. So
Mm.
I think it is okay to fail
Mm.
sometimes, but be
Mm.
consistent, know what your intention is, have the intention and
Hmm.
go for it.
Nice.
So have volunteers to help you out
Hmm.
also. Have your
Hmm.
own people who believe in what you're doing to help you
Hmm.
out, because you cannot do everything by yourself.
Hmm.
That's the one thing I've learned.
Powerful.
So have your people who will help you out with these
Right.
things.
So, like you said, one is be open, be available, and have volunteers. Like these are like
Yeah,
things you've seen as well, right? On a practical
yes,
level, that this actually is
absolutely,
what keeps it alive.
absolutely,
And the
absolutely.
fourth one you said, of course, was be fresh. Like bring them something over and over again that
Yeah,
sort of like infuses them with new
yes.
understanding, maybe new perspective. Hmm.
Discussions, Q and
Hmm.
A's,
Hmm.
Zoom calls.
Right.
It's everything is there in like
Hmm.
in that one little screen. Like how
Yeah.
hard can it be?
True that.
So
True. True.
make it happen.
Hmm.
Have your team.
Hmm.
Please have your
Hmm.
team.
Hmm.
Invest. I think how could I miss this point?
Hmm.
Invest in
Hmm.
having a team. Whether it's 2 people team, 20 people team,
Hmm.
know your resources, know
Hmm.
what um, your job or
Mm-hmm.
your
Mm-hmm.
profession demands, and have them on board.
Hmm.
Have them on
Nice.
board.
Nice. So this is that part where I in the podcast where I it's like I almost can't hold myself back, so I'll say it anyway. This is that part where I talk about something that I guess was one of the biggest, um, like that expression of you have a give me a lever long enough and I can lift the world, right? Or give me a fulcrum long enough, something to that effect, right? So basically, for me, that analogy is all about NLP or neuro linguistic programming, because on my journey, I was extremely blessed. Like way back 2007 was when I came across this. I tapped into it, or to use that expression nowadays, I double clicked on it, and I double clicked, and it's been literally like 17 years of not just, of course, neuro linguistic programming or NLP, but hypnosis along the way as well. So I'd love to hear, what's been your experience, and just to kind of set this up. By the way, there's this concept of opening loops and closing loops. So for those of you who were listening from the beginning, you remember I was talking about two people who are sitting next to me, incidentally. Um, One was, of course, you, Nidhi, and the person sitting on your side, on I guess on your right, was somebody you've mentioned already in today's podcast, right? Somebody called Mehernosh. And yeah,
Was it Marinosh who
yeah,
was
yeah,
sitting?
yeah, at the
Okay.
MMI. Hmm. So,
Okay.
so I know that from your story, Mehernosh was obviously instrumental in you realizing that, oh, okay, there is this thing called NLP or neuro linguistic
Yes.
programming, and that can make a difference in your life as helping you really be able to tap into yourself and use all this energy that you have for the good of you know not
Yes.
just you, but people in your immediate environment. And then it's like, circles and circles and circles outside of you, like concentric
Yes.
circles of people that you come across,
People.
whether it's educators, whether it's like administrators in schools, and all the various forums that you're part of. So I'd love to hear, what, if it's sort of like, focusing specifically on the NLP aspect of your journey and how it has shaped you into who you are. I'd love to.
Wow.
mm.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Big
It's
pictures, I
been,
see.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's been so powerful.
mm.
I think I was just waiting for the right
Mm.
mentor. That was my way of filtering
Yeah.
who I wanted to learn from, if somebody aligned and understood what I was
mm.
doing.
Mm.
Because I started NLP as a trainer to say,
Mm.
करना चाहिए सर्टिफिकेट मिलेगा और कुछ
Mm.
तो मिलेगा
Mm.
इसमें से. But
Yeah.
I didn't realize how I started noticing myself,
Right.
how I started communicating,
mm.
because it's neuro-linguistic, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So the words that I used,
mm.
from as simple as but and end,
Mm.
you know, how it changes people's perception to what
Mm.
I'm saying,
Yeah.
how I was looking into those things I'm saying something, but actually
Correct.
it was something else in my head.
Yeah.
So I started reading my own mind.
Mm.
Then, so for example, if I have to say,
Mm.
I loved this podcast,
Mm.
and how could I now see I'm using and because that's how I've trained
Mm.
myself. But if but so it's like I love this podcast, but I wish it was longer. Okay.
Mm.
So in a way, I am negating when
Yes.
I'm saying I love this podcast. But if I would have said, I love this podcast and I wish it was longer,
Yeah.
uh, you know, um, it just it just adds positivity to the
Mm.
whole thing. So
Mm.
how I was negating things that
Mm.
I actually wanted to tell people,
Yeah.
and I didn't even realize that I'm saying it and then negating myself. I didn't
Mm.
realize how I spoke of my own self till I
Yeah.
started writing it down and reading my own
Mm.
words. So the
Mm.
linguistic part of it was super powerful for me.
Amazing. Mm.
So that was one.
Mm.
Secondly, I realized, when people take sales workshop and they say you have to be in a certain manner, you have to dress in
Mm.
a certain way,
Mm.
you have to have that X factor.
Mm.
So that's what I realized, that it's not. So initially when somebody told me about NLP, I said ये तो manipulation होता है. And
Right.
then I realized that aren't we all using those skills
Yeah.
to put the point across?
Mm.
So that is where I realized how I
Mm.
need to build the rapport with my clients.
Mm.
And in that process, I started building rapport with my children. I
Beautiful.
started building rapport with my spouse,
Mm.
with my parents, with my
Beautiful.
close people. Whenever I
Mm.
realized that I'm not able to reach or put my point across,
Yeah.
I just knew what that little shift needed to
Mm.
be made so that they listen.
Yeah.
There is no manipulation in NLP. It's just learning how to put your
Mm.
point across in a positive way
Mm.
so that people get it. That's
Mm.
it. So I
Mm.
learned all of this from NLP,
Mm.
small things of how I set certain things in my way, and then
Mm.
how, if my clients are saying certain things,
Right.
how I can bring them back
Mm.
into feeling calmer, peaceful. So, for
Mm.
example, when I was using my hand gestures and
Mm.
saying the childhood and the adulthood and bridging the gap and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
using this. So, this is all NLP, your body
Yeah.
language,
Mm.
the words you use,
Mm.
and how you can become this powerhouse
Mm.
and helping your client. The one thing I
Powerful.
realized about
Mm.
NLP is it is a bomb. And if
Mm.
you don't know how to use it, you can manipulate a person to do
Mm.
things you want, which can
Mm.
be bad.
Mm.
But if you have the right intention, the
Right.
person sitting in front of you is only going to see success.
Mm.
And I can vouch for that.
Mm. Powerful. Wow.
NLP has been extremely powerful in for
Mm.
me to understand myself.
Mm. Wow.
And I don't think any time anybody has met me,
Mm.
known me as a sex educator,
Mm.
and spoken about, like, oh, you are such a fantastic sex educator. That is
Mm.
when they do my workshops. And
Right.
that is when that topic is
Mm.
spoken about. But when you
Mm.
meet me as a person, the first thing that they tell me is, you're so calm, you're
Mm.
so peaceful. Unless I'm in a party mode and I'm like
Sure.
completely on the enthusiastic
Mm.
side, but
Mm.
they can feel the peace because now I've learned to
Yeah.
tap into that self
Mm.
of mine, which is very calm and
Mm.
relaxed and aware about what I am and what I'm doing. And all of this,
Yeah.
all of this,
Yeah.
I credit to NLP.
Wow. Beautiful.
I've told all my students, like, the
Mm.
next thing that you need to do is NLP.
Yeah.
After you've done my certification
Mm.
course, go to NLP.
Wow. Amazing.
Always.
Like hearing all of this, it's like, that expression music to my ears, or it's like honey. Why? Because like I said, way back 2007, 2008, when I started to, like, for me, I had an amazing mentor who was literally my first NLP teacher. And then, of course, a few years down the line from then, which was like 2012, I decided that, okay, Dr. Richard Bandler is still alive. He's still doing workshops. He's still doing seminars. Yes, it is all the way, across the seven seas, so to speak. but it's worth it, and I went, right? But the point in all of this is, it's all about context, right?
Yes.
I When I had that first experience, I knew this is something, like you said, it can really change uh, the world.
Yes.
And hearing you say it like this now in 2024, which is like, what is it, 17 years later, um, it reminds me also of something we talked about just before we went on live. We were talking about waves, like you said it, because I've been saying it as well, by the way. I know you've not heard this, you've not heard me say it separately, but like you said, you have this knack of catching the wave before its time, right? So for me, I had a similar realization not too long ago that um, NLP, you talk about funnels, you talk about, marketing and sales psychology. Like these are things that today, thankfully, coaches and healers are aware of. Right? Today, a
Yes.
lot more of them are aware that NLP actually, not only does it exist, but it also is, like you said, it's the bomb. So it's like when you learn how to use it in the right way, you can
Yes.
truly be able to harness that energy and and transform lives.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
it's so beautiful to hear you say it in your and from your experience, right? And I know I'm just, these are like the breadcrumbs. um, we've talked a little bit also about hypnosis, which is,
Yes.
by the way, the next wave. So it is coming, right? It's just a matter of
It's
time.
coming. Yes.
So I know you've it is on your list of, this is probably the universe's way of
Things to
reminding
do.
you one
Yes.
more time that, hey, you know what?
Yes.
Because for those who don't know, NLP was literally cleaved out of, or drawn out of the the fundamentals of hypnosis. So
Mm.
for those of you who've already probably possibly attended, maybe it could be a short workshop, it could be a 1 day 2 day thing, or maybe even you've done a practitioner, which is typically 7 to 10 days. um, this is something that will truly take whatever you know to another level altogether, right?
Mm.
So for me, I consider hypnosis to be my brahmastra. And of course, today I'm at that point where it's hypnosis, self hypnosis, and NLP, or neuro linguistic programming, that together, it's like my special sauce is the iHypnosis. That's what I call it, right? But like I said, this is not about me, but it's truly about you, who's listening to this, and really, if there's even one thing that you've taken away from today, I know that it is going to have such strong roots that you will see it, transform your life in the days ahead, in the months ahead. And why am I saying this? Because I know every time you and I, Neeti, you and I have had these conversations, it has massively, shaped our thinking. It has massively shifted our perspective on life, on who we are and who we are becoming.
Absolutely.
And like I said, it truly, truly, truly warms my heart that uh, what was an idea like way back was 2020, so it's almost like 4 years ago, that in the most unusual way, it just popped,
It
and
just
here we
happened.
are, and we are sort of on the latter half of this podcast. Two things, of course, I definitely am curious to see when when life and the universe kind of like shapes it and we meet again, especially on this podcast in sort of like a part two. It'll be interesting to hear how much has shifted in your life and the things that you're doing, whether that is later this year or whether it's in the time to come as far as this podcast goes. So I'm really, really looking forward um, to hearing those stories of how, yeah, you remember we did that podcast, and like between then and now, like these are the things, I know you
Yes.
mentioned the talk show. So I know that India really needs this, because the more we're able to give it word, the more energy will help transform it into
Absolutely.
something, like taking
Absolutely.
the sting out of the taboo, right? So
Absolutely.
I really truly wish for you that this happens. And as we're now slowly starting to wind down or wind up, uh, you know when you kind of like reflect on your experience today, like what would you draw from this as sort of like maybe like a recap for those who are watching, especially digital coaches and healers? It's like, okay, so I've had this experience, and these are things that I would like to remind you, like do this or have
Mm-hmm.
this or be this, or feel this even.
I think I might just be repeating what Siddharth has been saying
Mm-hmm.
for the digital courses and
Mm-hmm.
the digital platform.
Mm-hmm.
One is, if you know something and if you would like the world to know about it,
Mm.
teach it.
Mm.
Teach it
Mm.
from the comfort of your homes with the basic equipments. You can become a powerful teacher.
Mm.
Start with whatever you've known, whatever
Mm.
you've learned, and
Mm.
you can always polish it,
Mm.
re-record it, and then
Mm.
put it up again.
Mm.
There's always a version 2.0.
Mm.
But don't stop yourself thinking that I'm not perfect. I don't have
Beautiful.
the webcam, I don't have
Mm.
the mic.
Mm.
It's okay. People are watching
Mm.
crap on the internet. You have a lot to offer.
Yeah.
So don't stop yourself
Mm.
for all these smaller things. That's something
Mm.
I've learned.
Mm.
Keep upskilling,
Mm.
keep learning,
Mm.
dive deeper. It's not
Mm.
always the surface.
Mm.
And just know that there is always somebody who's going to take it. There's
Right.
always a receiver. There are like billions of people in the world.
Mm.
There's always a receiver. So
Amazing.
you'll never have shortage of people
Mm.
like who will take my course. Just put it out there in the right
Right.
manner and they will.
Mm.
But teach. Like I know
Beautiful.
of so many candle making courses.
Mm.
If if there can be like thousands of candle making courses, there's
Mm.
definitely 1,001 that you can do differently.
Yeah.
So do it any which ways.
Mm.
Learn how to do it, but do it any which ways. So all the coaches, in your budget, with all
Mm.
that you have,
Mm.
you can create it. Just create it and upskill it and
Mm.
let it be a 2.0, 3.0, a
Mm.
better version, a more
Mm.
professional version. Go there. Don't
Mm.
stop.
Mm.
Consistently give what you have. And if
Mm.
you have more than one to give that too. So
Beautiful.
don't stop at, oh, my niche is this, so I can't do this. Do it any which
Mm.
ways. So yeah, go for it. So
Amazing.
just to finally put this dash of my dash point O, now that I'm feeling very comfortable in the space that I am and learned how
Right.
to create all of that.
Mm.
I very recently began a new venture of a
Nice.
business.
Mm.
Even though it's a product, it's silver
Beautiful.
jewelry. Even if
Mm.
it's a product,
Mm.
in my head, I'm already making courses.
Beautiful.
How will you buy it? How will you know? How will you learn?
Amazing.
How will you be a business person?
Amazing.
How will you do this? How will you do this?
Yeah.
There's always something that you can
Mm.
teach. Always. So
Mm.
don't stop yourself. Go ahead and
Mm.
teach.
Amazing. Amazing. So two things that came immediately to me. One, as you were speaking like 3 minutes ago, I remembered what you told me. What is it? A couple of days ago about the new venture that you started, and I was just allowing myself to be present rather than sort of like maybe an older version would have prompted you, and it just came so naturally for you where you felt it and you're like, yeah, and also this is what I'm doing. And hearing you saying that, not only am I have I started this new venture, but I'm already thinking of
Yeah.
the application of what you've learned so far, right? Like nothing, literally nothing goes waste,
Yeah.
and whatever you learn, it will come together at exactly the time when you need it. And I'm saying this also because sometimes, and we've all been there as well, it can feel like, oh, paise waste ho gaye, like, oh, I attended this program or this seminar or this certificate course, and oh, what a waste it was. At that time, sure, maybe it felt like that, but when you keep zooming out till you get to a point and it kind of, you go, oh, okay, I get it. Like I needed to have that experience, even if it was like, oh, somebody quote unquote scammed me to pay for whatever it is, right? I'm
It's never
just
like
saying this
that. Yeah,
from
yeah,
my
yeah,
own
yeah.
experience as well, that
Yeah, yeah.
it's so important for us, as especially as coaches and healers, where we learn to be able to zoom out,
Absolutely.
right? Because the
Absolutely.
more we're able to zoom out, the more we're able to recognize that no, everything is happening in our life as a lesson. And when we
Absolutely.
learn it, then we go, oh, okay, I get it
So
now.
imagine this, Rahul. Now that the new venture started,
Mm,
it became so easy for me to set it up. I think
mm,
with it's not even 2 months
mm,
today, and I'm already up and running.
mm.
I have my things in place. I know what next I want to do. I know how I want to word it. I know how I want to market it.
Yeah,
Just because I had, see, that time I was learning from the point of view as a trainer.
correct.
Today I have a physical product.
Yeah.
It never, ever, ever goes waste.
Mm,
You just had to learn it at
yeah,
that time because the right person came to you,
yeah,
so that when you're setting this up, it's a
yeah.
breeze.
Mm,
So I am super, super grateful to every conversation I had. And
correct.
I remember my children were very young when I used to travel to attend these workshops. And
Mm,
I had support at home. My
mm,
husband said, go do what you need to do.
mm,
My children were taken care of
mm,
emotionally, in every way.
mm,
Everything was in place. So today,
mm,
when my children are all grown up and I have all the time in the world, I know I want to step into something new,
mm.
and the platform is set for me.
Yeah,
So it's always the right time.
yeah,
And yeah, sometimes you may find some mentor who are not very helpful to you.
yeah.
So what? So you
Mm.
have to know the other side of the coin
Yes,
to
yes,
then appreciate
yes.
the right people who came to you. Like, okay, this was crap, I think this one was great. So then you know how to move forward. So I think everything is a
Mm,
learning point in your
mm,
life. So
mm,
even if you thought it was
mm.
not okay, it was
Amazing.
actually okay, it was needed.
Yeah.
So go for it, go for it, go for it. If it's
Mm,
come to you, go for it.
yeah,
Gather your cash, do what you need to do, but go and learn.
yeah,
Go and learn.
yeah. It's amazing, and I'm taking a personal leaf out of this because at the beginning of this year, I finally understood that yes, have that niche or and have that funnel of okay, you have like an entry level product, and then you have
Yes.
something where you're going deeper, and people who are who align with your philosophy are
Yeah.
basically coming along, right? Um, Finally I made this declaration first to myself and now so on the internet to live forever. I'm re uh, reconnecting to it that like you said, this new funnel, this new venture, this new stream of income just found you, right? So for me at the beginning of this year I had said I don't know how, I don't know when, what, whatever, but this year I want to have three additional sources of income. So it's like just hearing you say it, and of course I know the longer backstory to how it came about. Hearing it right now, it just kind of was like, yeah, you know what? I'm also going to declare this that uh,
Yes.
it's just a reminder that this is what I want. Now I'm not even going to. So it's like you've gone one step beyond the the say the manifesting of okay I want it to actually now having it, and
Having
it's growing from stage to stage in even in the last two months. So it's just a reminder to me that yeah, it's like just say it first, then you obviously put it into action, and then the right people will find you in exactly the way
yes.
that that it's meant for you.
It's amazing, Rahul, how people come forward,
Mm,
because I've had some crazy ideas given to me when I was calling my some people for help for
mm,
some for IT,
mm,
some for this, some
mm,
for that. And one of my friend gave me like a crazy idea.
mm,
She's like, don't. So I said, I don't want to see now positioning and
mm,
what your brand
mm,
value is. And so if I'm already a sex educator and now I'm
mm,
going to call myself a businesswoman and silver jewelry, and I said, no, I'll always be a sex educator. He's like,
mm.
how? Who said you can't be both? And I said, what do you
Mm.
mean? And he gave me this crazy idea. I don't know when it's going to happen. So no promises making, but it's in my head. Who said, why can't you have your line of erotic jewelry? I said, what?
Ooh, love it.
He's like, so
Oh,
he's a
amazing.
Marwadi, and he was joking with me. He's like, Bain taro janam ani mate જ થયો છે, like you're born for this. You're
Yeah.
born to take sex
Yeah.
education ahead. Bring it out in this form
Mm.
also. Who said you cannot blend the two?
Amazing.
So there will always be somebody who will come into your life and give you an idea and work
Mm.
it. To do, not to do, to happen, not to happen, it's a
Mm.
different thing.
Yeah.
But go for it any which ways,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
everything will align. Everything will align.
And
I get
yes,
super
and
kicked with these things, huh? I
y-
get super kicked with like how universe just gives me everything and then puts it on a platter and says, yeah, super fun.
yes, anding what you just said, even if, and I know, for those of us who've been on this journey of what we do today, even before COVID. So maybe you started as a trainer, then COVID happened, and then you realize, okay, coaching is a thing. It didn't exist 5, 10 years ago, but now it is. uh, so even if, for people who have that trainer mentality of, oh, I shouldn't tell other people what I'm doing, they'll take it away from me, and they will run with it, or they will steal my ideas. I'm just sharing
Yeah,
that the fact that you said it right now, I know that tomorrow, even if someone else decides to create it, I'm saying, whether it's me or anybody else, wouldn't they prefer to buy jewelry from you, which is, say, based around your theme, right, which is sexuality or whatever. If that's your line, or one of the lines that you're selling, wouldn't they prefer to buy it from you, someone who is steeped in this, rather than just any old average jeweler?
I will never underestimate my competition, but all I will say is I will freaking do everything in my capacity to make sure my business runs
Yeah.
and that I've given them not only the jewelry,
Mm,
but something additional
yes.
that I have.
Yeah.
So, can others do that? Of course, they can
Yes.
do that. But
Yeah.
I know for sure, and I have the confidence in me that I'm made to do this.
Yeah.
So, I will do the best I can.
Yeah.
And
So
there's
so we
freaking billion people.
so so
There's
we are
always those 1 lakh people who'll come to me and
yes.
Niyatii too. They
Yes.
like,
Yes.
come
By the
on,
way,
let's both be successful in this. Why
I
not?
know, which is why you can tell, and when you watch the recording later, you'll be like, "Oh my God, he was really bubbling with these ideas." I know that you don't know this, but we are now in the extra zones. Like when you have the party, then you have the after party, and then you have the after party,
Eggs.
right?
You
So
got to
right
know
now
about
we are
that.
in that zone
Yes.
of the ideas, because you said something probably about 15 minutes ago about uh, t-shirts and caps. I don't know. Now here's the thing: if you are making erotic jewelry and there is a course that is woven into it,
There you go.
there's no way someone will say, acha, sirf jewelry de do, course mat de do. Or uh, no, I just want the course. They're like, no, it's like, it's so intuitively woven in that for them it'll be like, whoa, you know uh, why would I not,
Yeah.
right?
So one thing
So
our mentors have taught us is don't give your clients just as much as they pay.
yeah.
Give them 10 times more. And that's where we've learned to add
Mm,
value to anything that we are
mm-hmm.
selling. If there's a book, there is a lot that follows the book.
Yeah.
It's not just a book.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
I love it.
I'm see that's what I'm saying. You've learned so much then, which I'm
Yes.
now putting into
Yeah.
something else. So
So this reminds me, by the way, of something that I had started many years ago, and I obviously, like fellow, you know, surf surf travelers, right? People who surf the waves. Um, I I had hoped that that wave would happen then, but I know now is the time. And so I had a client who has been with me literally from the moment I, decided, okay, digital marketing, the whole funnel thing, the webinars and all of that. So she was somebody, somebody I met literally in my first webinar, and she's been with me ever since, right, on different programs. And in fact, she was a guest about two podcasts ago, right? And as we were wrapping up one of our long-term coaching programs, she kept telling me this before, like this is last year. She kept saying, when are you going to run an NLP program? When are you going to do? I want certificate. It's not about me. I know people want to see all of that. The typical things that we've all been through. Like you yourself said it, by the way, that Acha certificate milega, chalo, I will do this, right? So she kept saying like, do it, and I said, yeah, okay, okay, I'll do it at some point because I didn't feel it. Strangely enough, literally at the very beginning of this year, I heard her and something clicked, and I said, oh, okay, 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 I get it. So now I know that this year, one of the things that I myself am going to be running later in the year is a practitioner. It's like a 90-day program. And of course, like you said, you give them more. There is a 6 month, which is again a very, very limited edition, only for those who are
Yes,
literally, they know it's not about the deal, it's not about the offer. Yes, all of that helps, but they really want to experience things like what we have experienced, right?
yes,
So the 90 days is designed as a way for people to learn
yes,
NLP in a practical way, in a way where they
yes,
can actually go out, test it, see what's happening, come back and share,
yeah,
like literally being in a lab where we are like designing. So for each of them, they're getting to design or redesign what they're already doing.
yes,
So this is something that I'm extremely kicked to see how it all shapes up this year. And like I said, and I know you probably not shared the link of this business that you talked about. So do add the link to your jewelry. Just saying, because we've talked about it. So this
yes,
is this is the whole point, right? Like people buy on relationships, right? People
yes.
connect on relationships, and we've been through a lot of interesting ups and downs in the last what is it now,
Oh,
5 years.
5 years.
And incidentally, this is probably the first time I have sweared uh, under my breath on my podcast. Uh, when you say the F's and the B's. So I was so taken aback by this, like, wow, right,
5 years, yes.
right, and yeah, I mean it. This is why people buy from people, and why people connect with people, and you build a relationship. Like I said, it was the most innocuous way that we met. Of all the seats in that whatever 500 3 4 500 room
Oh, yes.
hall, you were literally like,
Just,
something brought you and to the seat next to me, right? So nothing happens out of order. Everything is exactly as it's meant to be, and adding one little uh, pinch of something that I noticed today when we were getting ready to do our intention setting, which was that wonderful sign which is above you, right? Which is chill. For those of you, of course, listening to this, do watch the podcast because you will catch our reactions, which I believe are, more than worth it. So definitely check out the video of it. But basically, so there's a board, there's a little poster board above Niyati's head which says chill in Hindi, right?
yeah.
Cha, e ki matra, la, and choti la as well. Chill.
I think it's a mirror image, right?
And they'll probably see it the way you're seeing it, as
Oh,
in
perfect.
it will be, yeah. So the software also kind of like does that own little thing.
Excellent.
So yeah, we are obviously in the after part of the podcast. So for those of you who've stuck around and you've been experiencing something, I know, do type in the comments. You can definitely reach out to us, where all our socials are included, so you can reach out, if we can help you in any way, whether it is for you, whether it's for a family member. We're here to help, like, truly here to make a difference. So as we now slowly start to wind, as they say, to land this plane, if there's anything in addition that you want to share, Nidhi, please do. I've had an absolute blast.
As always, so have I. So I just want to wish you loads of luck, Rahul. I know your intentions. I know where you want to help people. I know your journey. I know how I have benefited out of the talks that we've had. I've attended your meditations, and
Mm.
I know that you can be super, super, you can be, no, you are super, super powerful. Um, all I want to tell everybody who's listening to this podcast right now, Rahul, what he's trying to do is he's trying to help all the digital coaches and the healers.
Mm.
The one thing that I may not have mentioned directly, indirectly is till you don't know yourself, you will
Mm.
not be able to help the others. So,
True.
in these 15 years that I have spoken about child sexual abuse, puberty, teenage, intimacy, I have gone through my own journey. I've taken counseling sessions myself because each time I was learning something, my own triggers have come across.
Mm.
I have learned so many things about myself. I've learned what I was doing right, I was doing wrong, and it became easier for me as a counselor, as
Mm.
an educator, to be then this calmness or this
Yeah.
energy that I talk about has not come because I've learned how to just meditate. I've
Mm.
learned how to accept myself.
Yeah.
I've learned how to love myself. And all that happens with either friends like Rahul
Mm.
or coaches like Rahul. So I know his intention with this podcast. So I urge each one of you, reach out to him. He's fantastic
Mm.
when it comes to doing the inner work. So while you will be producing all out, there will be a lot
Mm.
happening within, and it's worth it. You deserve it. So please, please, please make sure that you've understood yourself. You've become so powerful that there is
Mm.
no other way but for that other person to come to you to say,
Yes.
share this power with me. That's all
Amazing.
you can offer is your own self. So
Mm.
go for it. Just
Beautiful.
go for it.
Beautiful. That's truly, truly, truly amazing to be here like this with you in, in, like they say, in communion. Right? We talked about, having a community, but this is truly communion. And thank you for taking. I mean, literally, I know we've even learned this when they say you could have been anywhere, but you're here. But I genuinely, genuinely mean that in, especially in our lives today, where we know what we want, and we are, drawn to it, and we're doing it. And I know that you've taken time out to be here, and I just looked at the clock. I know we're closer like to the 2 hour mark, and it's been an absolute. It's been absolute, absolute, absolute. Not just an honor, but it's been an absolute pleasure to just listen and learn at an unconscious level. And like you so rightly said, it's truly my intention that those of you who are, literally all the way to this point, it already means that you're special. It already means that you found something. So, on your journey, on your mission, on your movement, I really wish that you truly, and this is something I always say, and I genuinely mean it right now, that you truly live with purpose. So thank you for, sticking around. And of course, we are going to be here. We are, as that expression goes, we ain't going nowhere. We are only moving
Going
together,
anywhere.
and we're moving, on this journey. So, if something brought you here, there's no accident, right? So
It's
wishing each of you that's out there, and you who's literally watching this right now, maybe you're watching this on your phone somewhere, dealing with whatever you've been dealing with, and but you're here right now. Wish you all the very best. And of course, we will be back for many more of these podcasts. So definitely check it out. We have more in the pipeline. We've got more already recorded. And of course, I do these daily podcasts as well. It's called the iHypnosis Coach Speaks. So you can always tune into those. But thank you for being you. And of course, just again another reminder, Niyati, thank you for being here with me on this podcast. And now, of course, I will slowly start to close each of the windows. So stick around while I just kind of close those. And I probably may or may not edit this last part out when I come back to you. But I know we've really been able to connect to people that we don't even know yet. That's what makes this so truly, truly amazing. So as I go to each window, okay, and